Hello and welcome to Cafdil Healthcare here on Cafdil Television. My name is Kojo Arthur. In our daily life, sometimes we encounter certain problems that we are unable to control ourselves or we are unable to manage them. Today, on Cafdil Healthcare, we are going to discuss stress and stress management. So in case when you go through certain situations that you yourself cannot fight, you know how to manage it in order not to, embrace any difficulty going forward. I have with me a lost but found senior mental health nurse from Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Osabia Atakra Gloria. You are welcome. About why are you laughing?
Thank you.
Then also Michael Aqua, also mental health nurse at Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Mike, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
But as I why you were laughing? Lost but found. Yes. I'm happy to have you. Welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I am very optimistic that as human as you are, you may have encountered certain problems. Do you recall, Michael? Do you recall yours where you encountered certain problems and you were unable to? You realize that no, you cannot fight that fight, and so with that reason, it was out of your control.
Yeah, so
what do you recall?
I remember back then in school, we had one of our semesters, and our particular semesters, you had to write 16 courses, or let's say subjects in that semester.
One semester?
16.
Hey.
And looking at our practice, writing 16 courses in this practice, it wasn't easy for me. So I really felt the word stress in that semester.
Asabia.
Okay, so we've had so many life situations. An example is you've been a stress to me at a point in time that I had to run away because Ron was calling me every time, asking me to come and do programs, and it was mostly conflicting with my work roles at the workplace. I had to run, I had to hide.
Anyway, I've also gone through that stress, and that is what Sabia herself. Sometimes you will call. Time is approaching, you call Sabia, where are you? And this thing wasn't easy for me to control, actually. But in all this, when we say stress, Sabia, what is stress?
Okay, so thank you very much, and I want to say a warm thank you to our listeners and our viewers all over the world or across Ghana. So when we say stress is an event, is a reaction that people go through which puts a demand or pressure on them which exceeds their knowledge or their ability. So any reaction you are faced with which exceeds your knowledge or ability, and at the end of the day puts stress or puts pressure or a high demand on what you can cope with, then we are saying that you are going through a stressful phase. Yes.
Which means this happens in our daily lives.
Daily. We go through stress in everything we do. So I must say that in saying this, somebody who asks, then is stress a disease? Is stress good? Is stress is it a bad thing to go through stress? So it depends on how you are able to go through it and how useful it is to you. That will determine whether the stress you are going through is good or bad. But we always go through stress. And from the things we eat, the things we wear, bills and other things that we have to go through, family issues and diverse teacher, and all these things causes stress.
Work issues, everywhere.
You see.
So in our daily life. All right.
So every day we go through it.
So in our daily lives, like you said, what really causes that stress?
Okay, so a lot of things come to play, and a lot of factors are considered to diagnose or to conclude that you are going through a stressful event or situation. Some are role conflict. So in a family situation at the workplace, you have roles which are assigned to people. People have their job descriptions. But at times you see that their roles overlap. So you see two people having to play the same role, and we don't know who is to play that role. Until we find ourselves in a situation where this person is relying on the other person to play that role, and another person is thinking, oh, B will play that role. So at the end of the day, there's always conflict and it brings stress. At times too, there are role ambiguity. So where A is supposed to perform a task, but because he or she is not available, the task, or at times they are available, but because of some considerations, you know, you say you're Ghana, yeah, to me lobby, finding a way out of some situation. A role is transferred onto another who is not supposed to have played that role. Definitely, it becomes a stress to you because you are not the one supposed to have played that role. You are not wired and you are not prepared for that task. Another is career consent. So we see in a school system where somebody is trained to work in a certain facility, and because there are no jobs available, you see somebody who did social sciences in the banking sector, somebody who did education in a military service. You see, everyone is everywhere because we are all looking for employment, and we don't mostly get works or jobs or employment which suits what we studied. And even if you should get some, at times the salaries or the salary structure does not fit the role you are going to play. So you see that there's a whole lot of concerns there too. We have work underload and we can have work overload. So in a situation where somebody has trained to be able to perform a certain task, but is not being given that task, so you go to work and people will be like, now we say stress, because you know yourself and you know that, oh, this is how much I can give out, but you are not being allowed to function the way you would.
Effectively.
Yes, the way you would want to. You are not being utilized, or your potential is not being maximized. Definitely, it's stressful. Because when so I can deliver, but yeah, my opportunity ni mpona wabe deliver. And if they are pushing more work on you, it is either way, either you are being underloaded or overloaded. And also will put pressure on you. It be so here to say meeting deadlines. So you have a presentation or you have to carry on a task. You've been given a deadline. Time as soon when you're ready. So or you are not prepared enough. So that too can cause or lead to divorce, unemployment, divorce, interpersonal conflict or family conflict. So tawantawa kakra wo ebusima, there's no family cohesiveness. So that can also lead to stress. Yes.
Oh, okay. Let me bring in Mike. Michael, in you, how you were created, how you grew up might be different from your system. Might be different. What I will consider as a stress, you may not do it. So I want to know how does stress manifest differently in individuals?
So you rightly said it. Everybody and his makeup. Makeup not in the sense that the organs in you are different from the organs in me. You all have the same organs. but our training, our upbringing, education, and other matters makes who we are, and that's what brings the difference among us. So how you react to stress might not be the same as how I also react to stress. It could be the same situation, but you've been trained, you've been through that process, so you're able to stand against it, unlike me. So individually and how we respond to stress. But as you've made mention of stress, sometimes when you speak about stress, you only think about the negative aspect of stress. But when it comes to stress, you also have a positive stress, which you call it as a eustress. So when it becomes negative, you call it as a distress. You see, let's assume you are preparing for marriage. You go through some kind of stress, and this kind of stress, you are a little bit nervous, anxious, because you are concerned about how the program will go. So it's a kind of positive stress that was going to help you to make sure that the occasion is a successful one. So you put measures in place. But you see, this kind of up movement can also become a stressful moment for you. For example, when the day comes and the one who you gave the food didn't turn up, or probably the time you're expecting him to bring the food, she didn't come on that time, and your attendants are waiting eagerly for the food. It becomes so stressful. So we have the positive aspect of stress and the negative aspect of stress.
Okay. So these ones are the negative. And what are the positive aspects of it?
So stress actually can help us. For example, definitely when we got the invitation for this presentation, some kind of stress, so how would the program really go? At least that's where the body also starts synthesizing some hormones that can help us to prepare well, because you are going to educate the public. So materials that needs to be brought together, you make sure you get those materials together so you can deliver to the public and we get the full concept of what stress and stress management is. So that's a positive aspect of stress. But
the stress that will encourage you, that will motivate you to do more.
Excellence.
Okay.
So live up to the task.
Okay.
But the negative aspect of it is, okay, I'm so nervous, I don't know what to prepare, and I don't even prepare. It's just like you're going to sit for an exams. Someone who has sat for exam for several times and is not passing, going to sit again. Okay, I've been sitting so many times, I've not been passing, so what's the big deal? This time I'm going to fail again, so I don't even bother prepare well. And you go in to fail. So that's a negative aspect of it. So it's just how we make good use of it. That will determine whether we stressed out or not.
This too, let me give a scenario. McCarthy seeing a lady, he wants it. He wants the lady. He doesn't know how to approach. He gets inside, begin to think about how am I going to do this, blah, 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 blah. Stands in front of a mirror, do a lot of rehearsals, and blah, 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 until he meets the lady. This kind of stress, is it positive or negative?
Oh. That's very nice. That's a very nice scenario. So we really see whether it's a positive or negative depending on how it manifests on the person. Because stress actually has its manifestation on the various systems of the human body. So let me take you through some of the system, then we can better answer your scenario. So looking from the nervous system, the respiratory system, the cardio or the arts, you can also count the musculoskeletal system, you can even count the reproductive system, and even the digestive system. So for example, when you start with the nervous system, the nervous system really controls, in fact, everything that we do. Our nerves control everything, mostly everything, because it's under the control of the brain. So when someone is stressed, in fact, the signal is sent to the brain, and the brain starts to produce some chemicals or hormones to control the stress. So for example, one of the hormones that the brain produces when it comes to stress is the adrenaline hormone. In fact, this is an hormone that helps us to fight or flee. So for example, you've seen a snake. So as you are here, just imagine there's a big snake here. Some of us might have fear of snakes. Some to training. If a military man sees a snake here, probably can master both them because they go to a jungle during that training. But someone who has never been to such a training might run away, even if a small snake might probably run away. Even a toy snake might frighten someone. So that's the hormone adrenaline. for the person to run away from that object because of the fears. So that's one. You also have another hormone, that's the cortisol, all produced by the liver. In fact, this hormone is supposed to control your sugar level in us. Come to think of it, how can you run away from a snake that you're afraid of if you've not eaten? There's no energy in you. So this time around, this cortisol makes sure that it reserves sugar, the blood sugar that you need to flee from harm or danger. And so it stores up sugar level in your blood. So if the sugar too is high in the blood, you know what it can lead to? Yes. That's medically diabetes, high sugar level in the blood. So you can just imagine. So that's for the nervous system. And when it comes to the cardio system, that's the heart system. You know, the heart is responsible to pump blood to the various parts of the organs, like the brain, the kidneys, even the heart itself, the liver, and other organs in the body. So under stressful situation, the heart is also impeded of its activity. That is, it's not able to work as it's supposed to. Not just that, sometimes it's also try to force, but there is a case, even the pathway, the channel through which the blood will flow through, that's the arteries. So you have the arteries that the blood will flow through. Sometimes they are so narrowed. So there's a pressure when the heart is trying to pump blood through it. And that's what gives the rise in the blood pressure, so high BPs. And this medically hypertension, so it can lead to hypertension. So a stress can lead to hypertension, stress can lead to diabetes. So having an effect on the heart. And it can even, sometimes if the heart is overworked or is under pressure, it can even shut down. So you can have a heart attack or even cardiac issues. You get it. And when it comes to the respiratory system, now, even if the heart is able to pump blood, it also needs oxygen. In fact, the blood also carries oxygen, sends to the brain and sends to other organs because there's nutrients in it, in the blood. So if the heart is able to pump blood to all these organs with enough oxygen, it's not going to work. A time will come, they will be deprived of oxygenated blood. That's the nutrient that they need. And they all shut down. But the oxygen will go into your lungs. You see, when the air goes into your lungs, the bad ones needs to come out. That's why you breathe out. And the good one goes into it. So if someone is under stress, the lungs, which is supposed to dilate to take in more oxygen for the heart to work, now is also impeded. So it also has effect on the lungs as well. So someone who has lung issues, like those who are asthmatic or they have any pulmonary conditions, they suffer the damage. During such situation too, you see, because of flights and fights, now other systems like the sympathetic system, like the sweating, the feeling of going to the loo, washroom, and this thing all goes down. Because this is a time we need energy to do something. So this is a time I feel like urinating, I feel like going to washroom. No. So it comes to a time if you start experiencing diarrhea, sometimes even constipation, and other conditions.
Then stress leads
and the most also, even for the male and female, you know, stress can even lead to impotence. Stress can even affect the ladies, their menstrual cycle. Come to think of it. Because blood is not really going to those organs, which is, you see, we need blood in the penis for ejaculation and all this stuff. So if blood is not going there, how are you going to function as a man? So stress can even lead to infertility. You need to think of it. So most cases, that's account to hospital. Some, at the end of the day, the result could be stress. So your case scenario, if the stress is having effect on these organs, then probably it's a bad one. So if that man, if he's experiencing of this,
with this, could do also to 12 papa. So that becomes bad. No, okay, all right. You're watching Cafdil Healthcare here on Cafdil Television, and we are discussing stress and stress management. Sometimes the situation be your strength cannot fight it. In fact, your mind, nothing can fight it. It's over your thinking, and through that you were able to, or you are unable to perform your duty as usual. This is what we are discussing today. I'm hoping that you will follow us on Facebook, that is Cafdil Cape Coast, and on YouTube, Cafdil Edu or EDU. Then you like and share for your friends to also get the opportunity to watch as well. If you want to also sponsor us, the number is on your screen. you can call the number. If you also want to donate to the progress of this program as well, the same number, you can also call and support us the way you want it to be. Let me ask, do we have types of stress, Asavia?
Okay, so I think in our conversation we have gone through it. Yes, so we have the stress and the distress. So the stress is, so I said earlier that stress is not a condition. It's not a disease. But it can lead to so many medical conditions, which we mostly ignore and we don't take into consideration. So good stress is what pushes you to get a good result. So the stress in itself is not good, but it produces good results. It helps you to do things which yields good results. So and the bad ones, it pushes you to do things which the resultant effect is bad or adverse. Right. So that's the difference.
Okay. So does it also have signs and symptoms?
Okay, on the individual when you are going through stress.
When you are going through
so what happens in the brain when you go through stress is that stress is part of daily living, but you can choose to make it chronic or not, in the sense that some people stress over petty things and things that they have to let go, they hold on to it. So anytime you are going through a stressful event, what happens is that there's a reaction in your brain where your hypothalamus adrenal axis in the brain causes a reaction, and this reaction leads to the release of cortisol. It leads to the release of adrenaline or noradrenaline, or epinephrine or norepinephrine. So they are the same. Adrenaline is the same as epinephrine, and noradrenaline, norepinephrine. So all these things come to play, and also your hypothalamus is also activated. So you see that the organs that make the brain, or the composition of the brain, each one comes to play. But the most affected part is your prefrontal cortex. So what the reaction of cortisol does is, because it's being released constantly because of daily stress or chronic stress, it causes the brain to shrink. So the size reduces with time. It also changes the structure of the brain, how the brain is made up. It changes the makeup of the brain, and it also causes a change in the function. It changes the function, how it works. So because I said it works mostly on the prefrontal cortex, what the prefrontal cortex does is, it helps us to learn. It helps us to memorize. It helps us to have interpersonal relationship with others. It controls our behavior. It helps us to make sound judgment. It helps us to it helps us in arithmetic. So imagine that this part of your brain is constantly going through a challenge, or is constantly being stressed or put in that situation. What it means is that learning becomes difficult. Such people have the tendency to easily forget things. You can't put into memory the things that easily should have come to you. Another thing is, they have issues relating with people as they should. So, and no human being is an island. We live in a community. You have to be able to have good relationship with others. You have to be able to make sound judgment. So in cases where you are told that, oh, you won a lottery, and you start to cry, hey, you see that in such situation, your behavior does not correspond to the news which have come to you. Under normal circumstances, anyone who wins a lottery should be jumping about, should be happy.
Lottery? What American lottery? Or?
American lottery are traveling outside. And I say, if you want a bet, it's something good.
When was the last time you traveled?
Me try be that.
Well, how do you know?
But,
anyway.
No, but it's a good feeling. It's just like you are here, you haven't really worked for anything, and Cafdil is saying that they are going to pay 20,000 into my account for just coming to
Wow.
for just coming to speak for some few minutes. Although I worked a little for it, but I'm not really expecting that amount to come from Cafdil. So it's a plus. It's a good news, right? So if in such a situation I begin to react, or my behavior towards the good news is in the opposite direction, or is in the negative, then definitely people are going to wonder what is wrong with this lady, right? So if your behavior is affected, then there's a challenge. And as I said, interpersonal relationship or human relationship with others, you are not able to make good interaction with others. You are always causing trouble, always fighting. You don't understand people and people don't understand you. Definitely, it will bring stress. So basically, what stress does is, or how you will see stress manifest, the signs and symptoms is, as I said, there will be memory, learning, behavioral problems, and all that. Forgetfulness. So aside all these things, you see stress psychologically manifesting as depression. Psychologically, so you see that depression is a state of being in a sad mood for more than 2 weeks and more. Ideally, when an issue happens, you say a baby will cry. So you see the person being in that state constantly. There's no willpower to do anything, to bath, to eat, to wake up from bed or anything like that. There's no energy, and the person is in a depressed mood for that number of weeks. You see that there's either the person sleeps a lot or does not sleep at all. So there's insomnia or the person oversleeps. There is also binge eating or anorexia. So it's either the person is eating a lot or is not able to eat at all, or eats and forces themselves to throw up because they don't want the food in. So we have people who go through anxiety. So we have stress at times manifesting as anxiety. They have fear of the unknown, fear of every circumstances they are going through, that it will turn out to be bad. It translates even to the physical symptoms too.
Does that mean that it leads to they don't have that enough confidence in whatever they do?
They do. So they see every situation as hopeless. Like they have fear that whatever they are going through won't end well. So such people, they are optimists. They are pessimists, right? So they don't see the good in anything they are going to do. The outcome mostly are not. They don't feel good about.
Inferiority complex also setting.
Yes. So stress can put you in a state. So that the ones I mentioned earlier is what happens in your mind. So you see that on your physical body too, people go through some symptoms which we term as psychosomatic. So at times it's mostly in the brain, but some too manifest physically. So you see the person complaining of headaches, easily fatigued. You see the person becomes irritable. Right, so there's anger outbursts, and there are muscle pains. So you see people going, or chest pains. People go to the hospital with so many symptoms. You run a lot of tests, series of examinations are done on these people, and at the end of the day, it turns out that you cannot come up with a diagnosis. And most of the time, say, it will be a or a spiritual, but mostly it can be stress. Not all the things we go through spiritual or has a root cause you can boldly ascertain through labs or assessment. Some of them, they are basically caused by stress. Yeah,
Okay.
so.
But Mike, let's see this stress, its short-term and long-term effects on our mental and physical health.
Yeah, so it has both. Because when it's at the early stage, less than, as my sister even said, with 2 weeks, if it's more than 2 weeks, the person is almost a depressive patient. So we have the short-term and the long-term effects. Some chronic conditions, like even chronic kidney disease, might be starting with stress. And it has a step that it follows. So it can have the acute stage and later on leads to chronic stage. Even with hypertension, we have the primary, secondary, so it can even lead to a chronic stage of hypertension. So stress actually is not really a good thing. So the acute phases, sometimes some will start having some high sugars, the BPs will be rising, even some other common conditions, because when the respiratory system starts breaking down, now this person who is asthmatic will start having asthmatic attacks, difficulty in breathing, chest pain. You see, as it starts like this, a person with chest pain, very soon, if care is not taken, will be start having heart conditions or cardiac conditions, and probably a cardiac failure. So when this starts, you really need to give a critical attention to it. Psychologically, it can lead to so many psychiatric conditions like the depression. Sometimes, you see, depression is number one cause of suicide. So it can even lead to suicide, if we can put it that way. And so many other issues. Medically, there are a whole lot. In fact, if you start mentioning, we even run out of time. So stress, yes, it does have acute conditions and even a chronic one as well.
All right. So in all this, Osabia, in all this stress and stuff, we should be able to manage them.
Yes.
So what are some effective techniques for managing stress in the moment?
Okay, so management of stress, it has a broad, it comes under a broad umbrella. One thing you can do first to help you is identify what causes your stress, and if possible, desist from it. So you move away from the stressful event. If it's a human being, try as much as possible. So I have about 4 things that I mostly tell people and advise people to do. You have to learn to adapt to situations. It's not every situation that you can change. So you learn to live with it and manage it. There are some situations that you don't have to I don't know how to, you can't change. So you just have to find a way around it.
It's inevitable.
Yes. And we have to learn to accept. The second one is you have to learn to accept situations. This is your reality. Your child is sick. Because of that, you cannot go to work. Instead of taking your frustration to the child, you have to see it as a teachable moment. You have to see it as a bonding time for you and the child. Rather than fighting the child, saying, and I'm my salary. Meanwhile, the whole year you've been running about, the child even doesn't see you at home. So use it or see it that, oh, it's a time for you to bond with the child. Again, one major thing which helps us is exercises. When we do exercises, it helps us to distress. It helps us to, it helps our respiration, takes in more oxygen and bring in out carbon dioxide. And
so you made mention of 4 things. One is learn to adapt.
So you learn to adapt, you learn to accept, and you learn to adjust to situations.
And the 4th one?
You I think it will come up as we go through it. It will come up. Okay. So I'll mention it so that we can all use it in our daily lives. So I moved to exercises. So we have deep breathing exercises, which helps us, like you breathe in and you breathe out. We have exercises that we can do even on our bed, like the bicycle paddling. So before you wake up from bed, you don't just get up and you start moving about. So you can do some bicycling paddle in your bed. It helps you to release some stress. And in addition, you have to eat well and hydrate well. You're taking more fluids and eat good food. Recently, I learned that the good food that people think that who did now I mean, oh me a good food.
Sɛnea
ɛnte saa wei deɛ ɛwɔ sɛ wondi balance diet aduane carbohydrates kakra wɔ mu vegetables kakra wɔ mu protein kakra wɔ mu na bia wanya wo fruits kakra de abɔ so nti ɛwɔ sɛ yɛndi balance diet. And we have to have positive thinking. And you know, let's see the good in every situation we find ourselves in. A bit of why I dream ya bad. I was say you restructure your dream. As there no agency ya they with the one obey. No. At times me who the good in situations. Let's think positive first. Then we find a way of managing the negatives too. And I think when we are able to go through this, it will go a long way to help us.
All right.
Yes.
You're watching Cafdil Healthcare, and we are discussing stress and stress management. And I am sure that we've learned a lot when we go through certain situations, how we're going to cope with those situations and manage it well in order not to fall into any temptation. Follow us on Facebook and also on YouTube. And if you want to sponsor us, the line or the number to call is on your screen. You can call. And if you also want to donate, you can also call on the same line or donate to the same line as well. Let me ask about mindfulness and meditation. What role does it play in this stress management?
Okay, so it's also very necessary. As part of management of our stress, one of them is you also have to take care of our spiritual needs, and mindfulness and meditation is also part of it. In a sense that, okay, you are mindful of what causes your stress, so you know what to do whenever you encounter stressful situations or how to handle them. So you have to know who you are, your makeup, what stresses you and what does not. Meditation too is also essential, because definitely there are something that's causing us stress, but you are not really paying attention to it, and you really need to sit down carefully and analyze those situations or meditate upon those situations. For example, it could be that you are at loggerheads with a friend, a colleague, or anybody, but within you think everything is okay, but everything might not be okay. A journal or an article on this one says that you have to be kind. In fact, manage your stress by being kind. In what sense? Kindness in the sense of being able to forgive such a person. In fact, that's kind of hatred or sadness or pain in us alone even can induce stress. It can bring about stress. Because anytime that you see that person, you are stressed up. Something is going on into your system, is having a toll on you. So be mindful of that. Meditate on how we can resolve issues with such a person. Sometimes we can also be kind to ourselves. Being kind to ourselves means that don't expect too much of yourself. So meditate on what you can do within your scope, the short term and even the long run. Don't jumble everything together. Take things in bits. So as you rightly asked, mindfulness and meditation really help us in managing our stress, and it's very, very important.
All right. Now, most of the stress also emanates from our work places. So I want to know what strategies can employers and employees adapt or implement to reduce stress, workplace stress, or those things there?
Okay, so the 4 A's I was talking about. One is, so I mentioned accept, adapt, so avoid and alter. So you alter, you learn to change some things that you can change. So at the workplace, we need both human resources and material resources. The equipment is fault. You're expecting the person to use the faulty equipment to produce the results that you need. Definitely it won't work. And at the end of the day, you put stress on the person, the human resource, and they will break down and it will cost you money. So you see that there are so many things. If we should alter, if we should change, it will help us. In the workplace, your friend is giving you stress by doing things that does not sit well with you. You can nicely tell the person, I don't agree with what you are saying. This thing wouldn't help me, or this thing wouldn't benefit me. Politely tell the person, so that if they can change their situation, they change. Because some people do things, like your colleagues, your employers, they do things and they don't know that you don't like it. They think that because you are okay, because you are calm, because you are able to work through that situation, you are okay. It's so I don't know how ma won who say I don't know how and when in so that immediately they can change it to suit you. It say if the chair is not working for you, but every day you come on to sit, you are comfortably interviewing people, no one would.
No.
Yes, no one would deem it's necessary to change the chair for you. So always we have to talk about the things that we don't like, which can be changed, so that they are changed, both when it comes to the employers and the employees. Also, we have to avoid. There are some situations that we can control. There are some situations that you bet me a jemu and I say ya every how yen. So as an employer, adibi wo kwa wanye ebe ha wo nipa no, but we yen so the input will be. So why don't we go for what will make the great output and I say would benefit the both parties? And as an employee, there are some attitude like lackadaisical attitude, coming late, reporting late to work, being disrespectful towards maybe your clients or the people you are giving service to, which at the end of the day, if the client doesn't come to the facility, your employer wouldn't get money to pay you. So at the end of the day, whatever attitude or customer care you are giving to the client is money, because they will pay for the services and you are being paid through that. So you avoid certain things or behaviors both on the side of employers and the employee, which would at the end of the day won't help you with gain money, or will help you or push you to lose resources. So when it comes to both employees and employees, we have a great role to play when it comes to managing or stress.
Okay. So is it good to set boundaries at a workplace, and how can those boundaries help in managing work-related stress?
Yes, it's very necessary, because at the end of the day, you know yourself better than anyone. You know yourself better than anyone. And when you don't set boundaries, people enter into a boundary.
Yeah, sure.
They enter into free zones. So you have to set the boundaries for yourself. So in management of stress, in fact, you have to be very, very concerned about health. We are managing stress for our health, not for someone's health. Because if you are no more, all those who are dependent on you are going to lose. Yes. And if you fall sick to everything that you enjoy doing too, you can't do it anymore. So how can you still do what you do, and people who are dependent on you also benefit? Set boundaries. Don't let someone control you. You are yourself. Because at the end of the day, if the person stress you out, he's free and working freely, but at the end of the day, the burden counts on you.
But don't you think there are set boundaries at your workplace? They may say that that you are unapproachable, that kind of, so tax will come on you.
Perfect. So those boundaries definitely, I'm not sure those boundaries will impede, the boundaries are supposed to say should impede the work. No, it shouldn't impede the work or the purpose or the goals, visions or objectives of the institution. No way. These boundaries, as we are talking about stress, is boundaries relating to you trying to check against stress or manage your stress. What I say, Inti say, and set them my boundaries. So because how they chow in what context? In the sense of or better to now our stress, and I didn't say a chow. Because a human ya by the bay. Inti a chow in what sense? How they and pay the no bay, anybody that ground and with them. But bear in mind, you're already loaded. And the work that you can't do is also giving you a kind of load on you. You see, I go back and separate media estimate shamo. You're even going to add out to my stress. So this time around, maybe not the right time. So this bring in mind that set priorities. You have to set priorities. You should know our priorities. So what kind of because at the end of the day, if you know a go on channel, they all close and the work is still there, and you have to do overtime to do that work. You see that thing?
Overtime that you're not going to be paid.
You see that? You see, but I don't know the omnians who are point and walk with you, and you are left behind. So set priorities. So know yourself. Set priorities. It's all about you. Not that you're not concerned about them, but when it comes to stress, no one can do it for you better, but you yourself.
So I want to add on. To work effectively, you have to be assertive in every sphere of life. Being assertive. Ghanaians, that is one thing we lack. We don't know how to be assertive. It's I don't know, or into me, I don't know, oh yeah, but they don't know how to say no because it's coming from a superior, because it's coming from your reverend minister. You hold the person in high esteem. It's run a frame and me na home. But I was say me bad because mama a run or baby there be. Benefiting me, I don't have to push myself. When you are pushing yourself, then you have to know that push you how it won't affect your mental health. 2, won't mean me because immediately you start grumbling, it's stress. Bringing stress upon yourself. So we have to always be assertive, speak out, say no when we can't. And always find, and you say no, so just say because they say assertivity. We bet me I don't know how to know. A scenario is at my workplace, because I happen to be in a top position. At times you handle other junior staff, and there's one junior staff. In fact, when I sit on any television or I get any platform, I use her as an example. She's a junior staff crowd, but when you give her a task, she will tell you point blank. It's not like I can't do it, but I'm telling you, oh, I want you to do this and that for me. She'll ask you, Sister Gloria, when do you want the thing to be done? That's the first question she'll ask you. Or I want it on my index tomorrow morning. Okay, I'll do it for you. I can do it. But you won't get it tomorrow morning. Maybe later in the day. If that is okay by you, I will do it.
If it is not okay, you
if it's not okay, you have to move it. She has told you she can do it. But the time you are giving to her is not convenient. She won't kill herself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But she'll give you her terms. If her terms works for you, fine.
Perfect.
And see, if you can shift the timeline to mid-afternoon, she'll do a good job for you. And at the end of the day, you are happy, she's happy. So it's reality. She's being realistic. She can't do it the time you have set for her. So if we should all bring in these things, 1, we are truthful to ourselves. 2, we don't think somebody is too wicked because they are in a leadership position, they want to put all their pressure on us. No. But at the end of the day, we are all happy and we all go stress-free.
Our time is drawing nearer. But let me ask this last question, then we call it a day. In doing all these things, which means you have to build kind of resilience. Okay, so how can one build that resilience to better handle stress, Osavia?
Okay, so building resilience is like building capacity to handle situations. So in building capacity, you have to train your mind. It all starts in the mind, that I can do, like I can do everything if I set my mind to do it. So that is the first point. That is where you start from in building resilience. And two, you have to know who you are, the things you can do and the things you cannot do. So man, know thyself. There's a window. So when you learn psychology,
Man, know thyself. When you are there, go there. They will give you a receipt because you mentioned man, know thyself.
You see, so we have a window, a study called Johari's window. So it has a 4 quadrants. There are things that you know about yourself. Every other person knows the same thing about you. There are some things you know about yourself, nobody knows. There are some things you don't know about yourself, nobody else knows. And there are some things you don't know about yourself, other people know. So in building resilience, you have to know what works for you so that you can master what works for you. If you are able to do that, I don't think that you would go to, because stress, as I said, stress is everywhere and it's a daily thing we go through.
I said that, this is my last question, but I think somebody also want to ask
A question.
as a married couple, they want to know whether sex reduce stress.
Oh, sure.
Does
Sure.
it reduces
Sure,
stress?
100%.
Oh, okay.
So there's a love hormone. I don't know if you know oxytocin. It's a love hormone, and it brings people together. Intina, say yes, let me aka kakra. Tree na head intina am da bim. Intina oba akra obi nware obi mpo na yemi enu. Yakoshe dem kakra say ye TV kakra ye no musa kakra ye bo se na say there's some nice feeling, be some tingling sensation. As some person we be person that feeling is oxytocin in play. Ten be how yes sir, because it's a love hormone. A bind them together. Emma or so Emma aware no a day. Intino, and it increases the sex, and sex in itself do. Who say when you have sex, yeah, when we lazy baby if you 18 Emma, you are able to even think well. Especially.
And just as sex also helps to let's say work against stress, because at the end of the day you are stressed out, so you need something to like cool off, and sometimes at least for able to cool off that way too, it's very, very important. Right. Likewise, you don't also want to forget. You don't want to forget this important thing. You see, sometimes because we want to do away with stress, some tend to other bad habits. That's addiction to smoking, addiction to alcohol, and even drugs. So we also have to be mindful about that, because at the end of the day, you know, or better on your NJB, what bread into your progeny. In the hormone mistake can answer me. You also have other hormones like the endorphins and the others. They are all hormones on my energy. It's even sometimes even listening to music, eating a good food or even a nice drink, release some of these hormones. But on the other case, on those things, those positive ones that will release those hormones, now I'm quite cheerful. But on drugs now, those drugs stimulate the brain and they release those hormones and offer addiction. So they might have some peculiar drugs offer What's when your good food be, nice song be, some nice way be, some feeling be.
Feel high.
You'll be
It's
addicted to that
Perfect.
particular
Those bad
thing.
stuffs.
So in managing your stress may lead to
Addiction too.
addiction.
You see, if any of our listeners, our lovely listeners, is going through those situations, please see the health experts. Don't manage it on your own in the house.
Okay.
Yes, visit the health facility, seek the appropriate people to help you.
All right.
It's very, very important.
All right. So, Mr. Man, that you asked this, I think you've gotten your answer correctly. So our time is up. Any some 2 seconds? What you have for our listeners? Our
Okay,
viewers
so
as well.
my last words for our viewers is that we have 2 circles in life. There are things, the bigger circle, and the those are the things that people think about us, the behaviors people show towards us. The smaller circle is how you respond to all the things that are coming to you. So we have to let some things go. We don't have to hold on to things. We have to learn to forgive. We have to think more about protecting our mental health and not what other people are thinking. If the person feels that you're a bad person and you know you're a good person, let them think what they have to think, so that at the end of the day, it doesn't become a stress
All right.
on us.
Okay.
Mike.
And what is also important to me with regards to this situation is, please, if you know that what you're going through is in what you just discussed, visit the health facility. You can see a psychologist, you can even go to a psychiatry unit. They can help you. So see them so that they can help you go through such a situation.
All right. It's not everything that you can fight.
Yes.
And there are so many things that you cannot fight. Visit a hospital and deal with it. Other than that, you may be addicted to what you think will solve the problem. This is where we will draw the curtain. Thanks for coming, Osabia.
Thank you very much.
And
You're
Michael.
welcome.
Thanks for coming. I'm very happy. So Gloria Osabia Atakra is a senior mental health nurse at Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, and also Michael Akwa, mental health nurse, Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Thanks for watching. Same time next week. My name still remains Bakope Kojo Arthur. God be with you till we meet again. Bye-bye.